Welcome to the Barrhaven Tennis Club. It's a battle of two former champions in the men's final of the 2018 Phil LeBlanc Memorial Tennis Tournament. Hello everybody, Dan Mooney alongside Matt Levrison for the men's final of this 2018 Phil LeBlanc Memorial Tennis Tournament. Its 10th annual, set up initially to perpetuate the memory of a young man who lost his life tragically in a car accident. His family has done its best to make sure that not only does his memory stay alive, but the game of tennis thrives as a result. It's Kyle Malone, the #1 seed, versus Grant Gibson, a man who has won this tournament before. Actually, both of these men have won this tournament before. Gibson looking for his second victory, and Malone looking for his third. Should be a great final, Matt.
Should be an awesome final. Like you said, both former champions, both know what it takes to win this tournament, both know how hard it can be. Also, two contrasting styles. Kyle Malone likes to stay to the baseline, play more of a counter-attacking style, whereas Grant likes to attack the net, use his big serve, change the pace up a lot. So really excited to see these two guys go at it.
These two players have played each other before. Kyle Malone came out on top in that match. What kind of match are you expecting from these two today? You talk about their styles. Will they contrast those at all and play whatever kind of style that might be necessary for them to win today?
I think that's the key here. I think whoever's able to implement their style sooner in the match, whoever gets up to that big start, and whoever's able to make the best adjustments. I think both these guys prefer to play a certain way. Like the car from the baseline, Grant likes to attack the net. Whichever one of those guys is able to implement sooner and implement more properly will end up coming out in this one.
He talks about adjustments. The organizing committee for the Phil LeBlanc Memorial Tournament have made so many adjustments over the last 10 years, but the one constant each and every year is the opening barbecue.
Started the first year, we had only 32 players and we had a spares list of 4. And at that time, I just thought, you know what, let's hit 32. We should be happy with that. Let's hope to reach that. And now 10 years later, we're at 52 players and we have a spares list of 18. So you can tell that the popularity has grown over the years, and the level of tennis actually within the matches has also grown as well.
Through the efforts of Pat LeBlanc, if he was the one that year after year improved everything. He brought in new people from the surrounding area. So every year we get a couple new people, high quality people to come in, and it's just grown and grown. So no, I didn't expect it, but thanks to Pat, it has, and it's going to continue to keep growing, I think.
Hit our 10th year and we're at now 150 people that attended this. So just seeing the community support that's come out to support such a great cause and being able to help underprivileged kids being able to take part in sports that their families couldn't necessarily be able to afford. This is one of the causes that we love doing, and this is one of the causes that Phil would have loved to help out in.
I think it's really grown organically, and it's just got a really good feel, this tournament. And it really is a testament to what Claude and Pat and the LeBlanc family have done in growing it, and it's just one of those events that you really want to be a part of. So.
Over $50,000 raised in the last 10 years for the Canadian Tire Jumpstart program, which allows underprivileged youth an opportunity to play sport at any level. Hockey, be it hockey, football, baseball, and yes, even tennis. Weather is going to be a factor here. The sun keeps going in and out behind cloud cover. It gets really warm when the sun starts to beat down here at Barrhaven, doesn't it, Matt?
It gets really warm. You might not be able to tell, but we're sweating just standing here. So the heat is definitely going to play a factor. The ball is going to move through the court a lot faster than it usually would, especially on these already very fast Barrhaven courts, which I don't think necessarily gives either guy an advantage. Both guys like to play with pace. Both guys like the quick ball. So although today endurance is going to be a huge factor.
A baseline player versus a serve and volley should be an interesting final. It's Kyle Malone and Grant Gibson in the men's final of the 2018 Phil LeBlanc Memorial Tournament. We'll be back to the Barrhaven Tennis Club after the break for the opening serve. Welcome back to the Barrhaven Tennis Club. Just about set for the men's final in the 2018 Phil LeBlanc Memorial Tennis Tournament from the Barrhaven Tennis Club. Dan Mooney alongside Matt Levrisen for this one. And Kyle Malone, the number 1 seed, undefeated throughout the entire tournament in the near court. He's certainly one of the good ones in this tournament, looking for his 3rd tournament victory in as many tries.
He's been at this tournament, I believe, every single year that it's been around. He's one of the strongest players out there, one of the best athletes out there. Certainly a willing and deserving champion.
He's had a reasonably easy road to get to the final, defeating Albert Wong 6-1, 6-love, then 15th seed Justin Leahy 0-3, love and 3. In the quarterfinal, he defeated Jeff McCarthy 4-1 and defeated Nathan Smith, the number 3 seed, quite handily, 1-4.
That was a real surprise. Nathan Smith is a really strong player, and for a guy like Kyle to come in and just walk all over him, it was really impressive to see.
Grant Gibson on the other side of the net is the kind of player that you really have to be careful of when you come into a tournament like this, because he's sneaky good.
He really is sneaky good. He's really intelligent player. He knows how to alter his game to best suit his opponent. And when that doesn't work, he's got a huge serve and a great forehand to fall back on.
His road to the final, almost as easy. 4-love against Jin Zhu, and then defeated Ryan Chan 1-2, defeating Imran Syed, the 5th seed, 1-3, and then getting past Matthew Tran in the semifinal earlier today, 2-love. Having to have played that semifinal already, 1 match today, is that going to play a factor in his endurance here this afternoon?
I don't think it's going to play a huge factor. 2 years ago, when he won this tournament, he also played in the morning, and he played a really tough 3-set match against, I believe, Kyle. So, and he came back in the afternoon and he won in another incredibly tough 3-set match against Joe Williamson. So I don't think it's going to affect him. I talked to him before the match. He's confident. He feels fresh. I don't see an issue at all with the endurance.
Grant Gibson on your left, the left of your screen in the blue shirt, and there you see Kyle Malone wearing the red shorts, the black shirt. He's kind of a derivative of Sunday Tiger type attire with the red and the black.
He's come to play for sure, and I know from personal experience, he's one of the more intense competitors in this tournament. If things don't go well for him, you're going to hear about it from him.
Players just warming up on the number 1 court here at the Barrhaven Tennis Club. A lot of history in this tournament. It's 10th annual, and $44,000 raised in the past 9 years, according to Claude LeBlanc, one of the tournament organizers and the president here at the Barrhaven Tennis Club. They're going to surpass $50,000 this year. 19 sponsors. They started with 3 10 years ago, and the draw has grown from 32 players. And in speaking to Claude beforehand, Pat LeBlanc starts to organize this tournament every January, and by the middle of February, the draw is almost complete.
It's one of those incredible things just to watch Pat work. He is so relentless and just the amount of effort he puts into this every year. This is almost like his baby. He looks forward to this every single year. He puts so much effort into it, and none of us would be here if it wasn't for all the incredible hard work that Pat does for the tournament. It's Claude as well.
Grant Gibson, the only time in championship history that a champion has come back from one set down. That was against Joe Williamson 2 years ago in 2016.
And that goes to what I was talking about, was in that first set, Joe Williamson had employed a strategy that was very successful, and then in that changeover after the first set, Grant had made a couple of changes to his style, changed the pace, changed sort of what he was doing, and he ended up winning the next 2 sets and winning his championship. So expect a lot of changing in tactics today.
Kyle Malone will start. He'll serve. He's just continuing his warm-up. The weather conditions, we talked about them earlier. Very, very warm here. 24, 25 degrees outside with a little bit of a cooling breeze, but not very much, and it's mainly sunny. But when the cloud dips behind cloud, or the sun dips behind cloud cover, it gets actually quite comfortable here. When the sun is shining, it's really warm. 24 degrees in the air, but about 35 degrees on these hard court surfaces.
Yeah, the being on the hard court, it just makes it so much hotter. It makes it really, really difficult to kind of stay focused for what could potentially be a 3-set match. And like I said, both guys like to play with a lot of pace, so I don't see the actual speed of the ball affecting either of these guys. Both of them like to play with a little bit of pace. So,
and you say Kyle Malone is more of a baseline player, but just looking at Grant Gibson and watching him return Kyle Malone's serves in the warm-up here, just an impeccable ground stroke player.
Oh, absolutely. When I mentioned that someone's a serving volleyer, that means more of what their preference is. If this becomes a slugfest and Grant is forced to play more of the baseline, then there's nothing wrong with that. He loves to play at the baseline as well. Today it's going to really depend on, if this goes long, how can he, cut some certain points shorter, and, I think he's going to have to serve and volley a little bit today if he wants to have a good shot at it. But if this becomes a baseline slugfest, then I don't think...
Are you expecting this to go 3 sets?
I've run a lot of scenarios through my head, and I don't see another way this goes 3 sets. Or I don't see a way this doesn't go 3 sets. This is going to be an absolute classic.
So Kyle Malone, as the number 1 seed in the tournament, will begin to serve first. No, it would appear it's going to be Grant Gibson that will serve first.
Gibson certainly has the service advantage in terms of their quality. Big serve, but what I really like about it is that it doesn't take a lot of energy. It's very technically sound, and so although he gets a ton of pace on the serve, he doesn't utilize a lot of his energy hitting the ball.
In 2016, Gibson defeated Joe Williamson in 3 sets, and we're underway, and that's long. Defeated Joe Williamson in 3 sets, and in the 3 sets, just 32 unforced errors. So
very, very impressive.
And a double fault. Not an auspicious beginning for Grant Gibson. But again, first game jitters.
It is a final.
And another double fault. He'll shake that off.
Yeah, the thing is with Grant is he's like I said, he's a smart guy. He knows when he needs to take his time and recover.
All.
I think you're going to see a lot of that from Gibson. There's a lot of short topspin forehands trying to get Malone off his timing. Malone likes that hard ball in around his waist. If that ball's lower, he tends to struggle.
So it would appear that in looking at the scores coming into this final match that these players were going to hit a lot of winners. Right now, very early, all 5 points on mistakes.
They're mistakes, but from going for the winners, going for the big shots. They're not necessarily easy mistakes.
Game Gibson.
And
first game.
Gibson holds to open things up here in the 2018 men's final.
You saw on every return there from Malone, he took full swings, really trying to send a message to Grant saying that if you slowly put that second serve in, as I'm going to make you pay, I'm going to hit that ball hard back at you. I'm not going to slice it back. Kyle knows that if he stands around and just lets Grant move him around the court, he's not going to win this. He needs to dictate points himself and look for the weaknesses, look for the openings. He's not going to hit a ton of winners out of nowhere. He's going to build points, and he's going to, take 3 or 4 hits to win a point.
Staying hydrated is going to be very important here this afternoon. So on the changeovers, you'll see both players getting a lot of water. Little long for Grant Gibson.
See, he has that one-hand backhand. He plays that ball or that one-hand backhand with a lot of topspin. And when you have that much topspin, it really, really is important that you get out in front of the ball, that you hit that ball early. If you're even a little bit late, then you'll see a lot of frames either go in the net or fly long, like you saw on that last point.
Serve is going to be so important here. You know that given the opportunity, both of these players are going to take advantage of breaks.
Oh, absolutely. This match could be decided by 2 or 3 simple breaks to serve.
Fault. $15-30.
Double fault for Malone, his first. So first game service jitters certainly prevalent here.
I wonder if it's jitters, but another point too is on that side of the court, when they go to serve, the sun is directly above them right now, so I'm sure that's making it really difficult to locate the ball in their toss, which is definitely contributing to the serving.
$15-40.
So now Gibson with his first break opportunity.
Yeah. First serve.
Go. 1. Out.
Game Gibson.
So Gibson now up 2 with the first break of the match.
Gibson leads 2-love.
Usually when you have guys that have the one-hand backhand, they tend to struggle on the return serve to that backhand, but I would argue that's one of Grant's strengths, is he loves the return on that one-hand backhand.
$15-love.
Tried to cut that and missed.
It was a really nice deep return from Malone there, taking advantage of how far in the court Grant ends up after his serve.
$15-30.
Low percentage of first serves thus far. That will more than likely change as this match progresses. And a dainty try, but just a tad too dainty.
Sometimes when you're down that point in your service game and you don't feel like you should be, you try things that may not be the smartest move, and he wasn't even close on that drop shot.
So a couple of break points for Malone now. And
Malone.
so Malone is able to break on his first opportunity as well, and he's on the board.
Gibson leads 2-1 first set.
A really, really nice couple of returns there. Taking advantage of the second serve, although by no means is it a slow second serve. If you get the timing right, it can be easily taken advantage of.
We talked about the importance of hydrating, and now both of these players are going to get a chance to do just that. Staying hydrated, so important on a day such as this, as warm. And a couple of years ago when Gibson was in the final against Williamson, it was about 35 degrees, about 42 on the court with the Humidex. So this is probably feels a lot cooler for Grant Gibson.
Oh, and for a guy too who also used to run a ton of tennis camps, he's a coach, so he runs a ton of lessons outdoors, and he's used to being outside. I mean, this, although is warm, I don't think it's going to affect either guy really all that much.
And the breeze picking up a little bit here, and it's going to be in Gibson's favor here to start game number 4 of this opening set. Malone to serve. And that long. And Kyle Malone already beginning the conversations with himself.
That's going to be a recurring theme is he's got a little Andy Murray in him where he's talking to himself a lot, and it works. It seems to work all right for him.
15 all.
And a nice change of pace on that serve. And Grant was way out ahead of it. That forced the miss.
Oh, and a beautiful backhand winner by Kyle Malone.
30-15.
Kyle lives on that baseline. He's so strong at changing the direction, changing the angle on a ball that really shouldn't have had its angle changed to begin with, and that's a great example of it.
$40-15.
Malone trying to hold here to get back on serve. And he does.
That's a little more prototypical of what I think you're going to see a lot from Malone in this is big, heavy ground strokes, making Gibson move around a lot, not really giving him any opportunity to step into one, play any angles, and just dump it from the baseline.
Return to serve wide by Malone.
Yeah, nice shot, man.
Another passing shot by Malone.
15 all.
Really, really nice movement here from Malone. You see he jumps on just about every ball, so he lands and is really explosive in his legs. Allows him to get back to center of the court almost immediately.
Gibson knew he missed that one.
30.
Now Malone ahead, 15-30.
Second serve.
Another great forehand pass by Malone.
15-40.
This is what's great about tennis is that it never really allows both guys to be playing at their top speed right away. If one guy's playing at his top level, it shuts the other guy out so quickly. And that's what you're seeing here is Malone is playing at such a high level, it's not allowing Gibson any openings during the points.
It seems to be a drone flying above the court, and it's causing the players some consternation.
First serve. Game, Malone.
That into the net, and Malone breaks. 2 for 2 with break opportunities so far. And Malone down 2 games to love to open up this first set, has come back with 3 victories of his own.
Well, and in those first 2 games, what was really important was that although he was still playing aggressively, Malone was missing a lot of these shots. But right now, it looks like it doesn't matter what shot you give him, he's going to make it. And so it's up to Gibson to try and stick around as long as he can and hope Malone's level drops, or Gibson's able to find some kind of strategy, whether it's changing his pace, playing with a little bit more slice, to maybe throw off Malone's timing in any way possible. But if this keeps up at this pace, this could be a quick match, the way Malone's playing.
Started off a little slow, looked a little uncomfortable, but seems to have found his stride here. Still in the early going of this opening set.
Out. 15 love.
Too hot for Gibson to handle. And Malone up 30 love in an attempt to hold serve and go up 4-2.
Out. 40 love.
Chair umpire is Mark Ferguson. A great get by Gibson, but he came back and left the ad court wide open, and Malone had no problem finding it with a topspin forehand.
No, this is absolutely clinical, and you look at Malone's forehand, it's a little bit odd because he uses an extreme western grip, and what that allows you is, because he's been shorter, any balls that are above the waist around shoulder height, it makes it a lot easier to get to those.
Gibson with a great try, but
Love 15.
Malone seems to be painting the lines on either side of the court.
Well, and that's because, you know, when the ball's at that height and you're able to use that kind of a grip, it really allows you to have the same power you would as if you were hitting the ball at your waist.
First serve. Net. First serve.
Out.
15 all.
And what's helping with Malone's game too is the fact that Grant's hitting with a lot of topspin, and unfortunately because they're landing so short, by the time they come back down, they're right in Malone's strike zone.
Out. Oh my God. 15-30.
Now, the conversation's on Gibson's side of the net with himself.
Well, and it's not necessarily that Gibson's playing terrible tennis, it's he's getting no space to work.
Out. 15-40.
Gibson having his problems here, and if he's not careful with a couple of break points here in game number 7 of this opening set,
I'll go with your call. Yeah. Second serve. I thought it was wide.
so Gibson staves off a break
30-40.
opportunity.
Just a little more of that, a little more of them going back, attacking the backhand. So the Malone strong on the backhand is not quite as strong as he is on the forehand.
But now we go to deuce.
Yes.
Yeah, lucky there, 2 second serves that Malone was just off with. If he gets a hold of one of those, that could have easily been a break.
Great serve, and
Gibson.
Gibson has come back very effectively here.
Yeah, let's go.
Another ace to close it out, and he holds to trail
Gibson.
4-3.
Malone leads 4-3.
You know, this morning when Gibson played, he played against a gentleman who plays a similar style to Malone, but doesn't hit with nearly as much pace. Plays a lot more topspin and a lot more angles, and so it can be difficult on the same day having to play 2 totally different style players, where one guy thumps the ball flat and straight, whereas the other guy kind of plays with more angle. And you're seeing he's really, really struggling with that so far. Although a couple big serves helped him out there.
That was the ace to finish off from the ad court, and Gibson down 15-40 in that one to come back with 4 straight points and hold serve.
Out. Love 15.
Malone long, and seems momentum keeps switching in this opening set.
It does, and it seems to be sort of anchoring on Malone's racket. When he's making the shots, he's tough to touch, but you know, the shots he was hitting are really sort of low percentage shots, so when he starts missing them.
We're at a pretty frantic pace right now, Matt. Can they keep this up for 3 sets?
I couldn't. I know that much, but these guys are both in awesome shape, so who knows? Wouldn't surprise me if they could.
Ball.
Yeah, that's a great shot.
Malone has Gibson running all over the place and blows the winner past Gibson.
15.
And that's exactly the kind of point Malone wants to play. 4 or 5 really strong hits that, you know, aren't necessarily going to win you a point, but when you combine them together, will give you an opening like he had. He didn't make a mistake.
Well,
40-15.
Oh, paints the baseline to lead 5-3.
This is absolutely clinical.
Leads 5-3.
You know, this is the type of tennis where, you know, it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the court. You keep this level up, there's not much anyone's going to do.
well,
Love 15. Love 30.
Double fault number 3 for Gibson.
He's got to be careful here. You don't want to get broken dead to set, because then your opponent gets to start serving in the next set, which is usually an advantage.
Wind affecting his toss a little, Matt?
It could be, but I think it has more to do with the sun.
Oh, and Malone
Love 40.
gets a lucky break there.
And when you're playing well, you tend to get a little more lucky than someone who isn't playing well.
Well, for as many of those net cords that drop in for you, just as many go the other way. Gibson tried to half volley, and Malone takes the first set.
6-3.
6-3. Malone now 3 for 5 with break opportunities, and breaking Grant Gibson 3 times in that opening set.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with it, and that last point was the only time you actually saw Grant come to the net, and a lot of that is just he's not getting the opportunities. When you coming to the net, you ideally want to be in an offensive position after you've just hit a strong ball, so that you don't have to hit a great ball. You can kind of just put it away, but he was playing defense so much in that set, he never got an opportunity to come to the net. And that certainly seems like it was part of Kyle Malone's sort of strategy coming in, is to hit that ball, keep it strong, and not give him an option.
Kyle Malone with 3 breaks to take the first set 6-3. We'll take a break and come back with set number 2 at the 2018 men's final of the Phil LeBlanc Memorial Tennis Tournament from the Barrhaven Tennis Club after the break. After a 6-3 first set win, Kyle Malone will serve to start the second set of this men's final here at the 2018 Phil LeBlanc Memorial Championship. From the Barrhaven Tennis Club.
About 15.
You know, I'd like to see from Gibson this set a little more change of pace. Although he wasn't hitting the ball as hard as he could have, the pace was the same. I'd like to see a little change of pace, maybe a little few more slices. Try to do whatever he can to get Malone off his rhythm.
all.
If Malone stays at the level that he's at right now, this could be another quick second set.
That one just blew right by Grant Gibson. Winner number 8 for Malone. And Gibson blank in that category.
When you're playing defense the whole set, it's hard to get a winner.
Breeze freshening here
40-15.
in this opening game of the second set.
I saw during that changeover Malone sitting there with a cold water bottle pressed against his forehead, so he's definitely feeling the heat, and you wonder if that's making him play a little more aggressively.
Oh,
Try and shorten the match, shorten the points.
game Malone. First game, second set.
Kyle Malone holds to start this second set, and we were fully expecting this match to go 3 sets, but like my colleague Matt Levrisen has said, it's really going to be difficult for Grant Gibson to get back into this match if he continues to have to play defense.
Well, it's one thing to try and get back to the match when you're not playing well. It's another thing to get back to the match when you feel like you're playing fine, but your opponent is so cutthroat and is hitting with such pace and isn't letting you do anything that you want. You're basically playing the entire match on his terms. It makes it infinitely more difficult to try and get back into a match.
Gibson started this match in very good shape, holding the opening serve and breaking Kyle Malone and forcing him to do things like that.
And you saw that was one of Grant's biggest serves of the day, and Malone shoved it off like it was nothing.
Out.
15-all.
The ball kid's getting a workout here. And Malone's wide.
30-15.
You know, it's amazing how much easier this game becomes when you're able to take away your opponent's biggest strength. in this case, Malone's taken away that big serve of Gibson.
$40-15.
And although Gibson's still getting the odd free point from his serve, it's not nearly as many as he's used to.
Malone with another winner, number 9. And
40-30.
now it's 40-30. If it gets to deuce and we get into a battle here, at what point does it start to become desperate for Gibson?
Honestly, I think if he gets broken, that's when it gets worrisome, because he hasn't really had any good looks on the Malone serve so far.
Calling it down.
Gibson.
So Gibson holds and staves off elimination with that winner. Malone let it go, thinking it was long.
Well, the top's been brought up back down, but you can see just how tired Gibson's getting out. That has nothing to do with the earlier match. I just think he's doing so much running and playing so much defense. It's making life a lot tougher.
Love.
And Malone's serve coming in at such velocity that Gibson is just basically trying to get a racket on it to get it back to the other side of the court.
Well, it's not necessarily just the velocity, but it's the velocity
and
as well as the placement, right?
Malone wanted that one back.
We'll see a little more of that, a little more of Grant coming into the net, maybe taking a few more risks, maybe not, maybe coming in on some shots he probably shouldn't be, and just putting a little bit more pressure, forcing Kyle to maybe play a little bit more defense.
Malone has a small towel with him. He almost be able to wring it out by the end of this match.
$30-15.
That is a huge running backhand, and that's been big in this match. Is anytime Grant's played a little bit of offense and moved Malone around, he's come up with that ridiculous running backhand and has puts himself immediately back on the front foot.
Oh.
40-15.
You see Malone taking a little bit more time between points.
That one's wide.
40-30.
Gibson's going to have to hope for a couple more of those. Otherwise, he's going to need to find something else.
Gibson seems a little bit more comfortable here in the second set.
He certainly does. And I think part of that is because it's the beginning of this set. He's got a really strong mental game, so I'm sure he's already put that first set behind him.
And
Yes.
Second double fault for Malone. Brings up deuce.
Gibson just needs to keep plugging away and
Mistake by Malone.
Advantage Gibson.
Gibson's the type of guy, if he's able to get a break up with how strong his serve is, that might just give him a little bit more confidence. Hit that serve a little harder, hit his spots better. It could be really tricky for Malone to get the break back if he's able to get it here.
Second break opportunity for Gibson.
Deuce. Advantage Malone.
Thanks.
Gibson hits that one wide. And now Malone in the driver's seat here with the advantage, and more importantly, the ball in his hand. Back to deuce. Deuce number 3 in this third game of the second set.
You can see on Malone's half the court, the shade is slowly starting to creep in, and that can only help. He's going for that towel out there every single point now, so he must be sweating buckets.
That and the fact that he just may want to be slowing things down here.
Potentially for sure.
Advantage Malone.
Little net cord there from Malone. He got a break.
He's had a couple of those.
Deuce.
Deuce number 4.
See how far Malone's pushing Gibson behind the court, though. And Gibson's definitely working harder, the harder out of the two.
Gibson would love to have that one back.
Advantage Malone.
Oh, he had to reach for that one. Bad toss, and he knows it.
Yeah, so many guys hate, doing what Serena does all the time, and let that ball bounce. If that toss is no good, you can hit it. There's nothing in the rules that say you have to hit that toss. You can take 30 tosses if you want, until you find the right one. That was another bad toss. He got really lucky on that one.
Second set.
He's got to take a second and get it back.
Advantage Gibson.
Gibson with yet another break opportunity.
This is what Gibson needed. Was you had to be patient, keep plugging away, and eventually he was going to get a bad service game out of Malone.
And the double fault. Third double fault for Malone, and Gibson gets the break he needed.
Second set. First set Malone.
And a couple of momentum shifts here in this one. Gibson started off with a 2-0 lead. Malone came back, played very well, won that first set, and now things seem to be going back into Grant Gibson's favor.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, although Grant Gibson loves to play the serve and volley, he's not shy to be down at the baseline. And Malone's level was so high naturally. You know, the beauty of our scoring system and the beauty of, 2 out of 3 sets is naturally, eventually that's going to come back down to earth a little bit. And what happens is when you're playing so well, your expectations for what you can do go up higher.
Here's a look at Malone, and here's a look at the tossing problems that he has. And like you said, Matty, you don't have to hit it.
No, but some guys out there, and I know a couple of them personally, that's just not how their mindset works. Their mindset is that toss is in the air, you hit it wherever it is. You're never thinking to let it drop.
Gibson out there and Malone taking his time.
Just based on the body language alone, I think the heat's starting to get to him.
Come on. 15 love.
I like that play from Gibson a lot. Again, changing pace, changing position, not letting Kyle get in his comfort zone.
Out.
30 love.
Gibson in the driver's seat now.
And here's where Malone really needs to take some time and really refocus here. This is where he can let matches get away from him a lot of times, because he gets really frustrated over misses that are completely understandable. But he just has such high expectations of himself.
Out.
30-15.
Gibson trying to hold and take a 3-1 lead here in the second set, a set he needs to win. Malone back on form with a beautiful topspin pass.
30 all.
What I'm seeing a lot with mostly his forehand, but is when he gets to those shorter balls, it's almost impossible to tell where he's going with it until he's actually made contact.
Out.
30-40.
Malone with his 6th break point opportunity of the match. 3 for 5 coming in.
Net. First serve.
Oh, he found the corner beautifully. Get to deuce.
That's what I wanted to see more of. A lot of his bigger serves have been body serves right at Malone. He hasn't had much of an issue with it.
Use.
I'd like to see a little more variety. I'd like to see a little more change of pace.
third ace of the match by Grant Gibson.
Advantage Gibson.
And that's what good servers do. Good servers don't just crush the ball. They're able to place the ball beautifully in places no man's going to be able to reach.
Gibson.
Kyle Malone. Gasping for breath a little here in set number 2.
For sure. I wonder if he's definitely going to want to keep playing that sort of style of going for the winners, trying to keep the points short, because the longer this match goes on, I think the more it favors Gibson, just based on, body language and how they're dealing with the heat and the temperature. And you can see Malone's really struggling with his toss, really struggling with his timing on the serve.
Love. All.
We've also been fed some information that Malone's using a leather grip, which, although does last a bit longer, is a little bit hotter on the hand and can be a little uncomfortable in heat like this.
In the backhand court, he still likes to switch around and hit that forehand as well.
No. No.
15-30.
No, you're absolutely right, and when you're strong move on the baseline and you're not as comfortable in that backhand, guys like to run around to hit the forehand. I don't know if I like him in this situation. I kind of like him running and hitting that backhand, because so far it's been working out all right for him. Plus, the more you run around the forehand, the more energy you exude.
$15.40.
This is one of those moments where in tennis you wish you almost had a timeout, like you were able to call a timeout and just get a minute to yourself to try and refocus.
No doubt he'll be doing that in the changeover.
Game Gibson.
And Gibson breaks.
Gibson leads 4-1, second set. First set, Malone.
And the problem with getting that, with doing the taking the time out in the changeover is you've already lost the game. If you're able to do that at break point down, then you wonder how it'll affect guys. But
well, you talked about this going 3 sets, and it would appear that it's going to go that way after Malone breezed through the opening set 6-3. Gibson has come back with a tremendous fighting spirit in set number 2 to lead 4-1.
Yeah, and 6-3 score in the first set doesn't really sort of tell the story of how dominant Malone was, especially when you consider that Grant got off to, what was the 3-love start? He was on fire, and then it went downhill quickly because Malone played so well. But you can see, tennis is such a sport of momentum shifts. Malone was hitting every corner. He was hitting every line. He was hitting every ball with a ton of pace. And when you play on that edge, you have great big highs, and you maintain that for as long as you can. But eventually, you're gonna have these dips. You're gonna have these lulls, and it's about keeping those lulls as short as you can. and getting back up to those highs that is going to separate him, is going to decide this match. And if I'm Gibson, I'm staying the course. I'm hitting my big serves. I'm playing defense. I'm just putting the ball back in play as much as I can.
Love.
Lovely drop shot by Gibson.
30 love.
Malone didn't even make an effort.
No, sometimes you just know.
Grant Gibson with his second win here in the second set. And double faults.
15.
And Malone now with Gibson on the run.
30 all.
It was a strong serve from Gibson, but wasn't anticipating the deep return that he got. Ended up hitting a ball almost on his back foot, which gave the point back to Malone.
Gibson loved it. Malone, not so much.
And both guys' levels now have sort of regressed down to the mean, and in that instance, the style that Grant is playing tends to overwhelm guys like Malone, who like to want the same pace, don't like any changes.
Game Gibson.
And Grant Gibson now will try to break Kyle Malone once again. And is Malone laboring a little bit injury-wise?
I'm wondering if has a bit of an injury to his hand or if his hand's cramping. But that was visible. There was no hiding that. And this doesn't take a genius to tell you, you kind of need your hands in tennis, so an injury to a hand could be absolutely lethal in this match.
Seemed to look okay on that serve in the forehand.
Didn't look too bad, did it?
All.
Talk about these players being evenly matched now. Both at 30 in the unforced errors department.
Yeah, when you go for the winners that you're going for, you're gonna miss.
Each with 3 breaks.
Come on.
And that was a miss by Gibson. Just out ahead of it.
30-15.
In front, just a breath.
Yeah, you could tell he was going for the cross court, almost Shapovalov-esque on the pass, but you got to be so precise if you're going to do that. And like you said, he missed that by a hair. And it's the difference between making a great shot and missing the ball entirely.
Gibson again into the net.
40-15.
You know what I'm noticing, just based on the way he was from the first set, body language is he's not as energized, he's not jumping into the balls as he was earlier, and he's more waiting for the point to develop.
Just outside.
40-30.
Deuce.
Use.
Just like I mentioned in the first set, Malone's got to be careful here. You don't want to lose a set on a break, because then your opponent gets to serve in the next set.
Another unforced error that gives Gibson another break opportunity. And we're back to deuce as Malone pounds that one down the line.
Use.
I think he's going over.
It's a good serve, and you can tell he's walking with some heavy feet right now. Where I look over at Gibson, his seems to have just as much energy as he had when he started the match, despite the fact that he's been doing the majority of the running so far.
Yeah, let's go.
Advantage Gibson.
Gibson with the winner. Just his fourth winner on the afternoon. He's played steady defensively here in the second set after having a few problems getting going in that opener.
Yeah, that forehand, I would almost say, is a trademark for Gibson. He loves that short angle.
Long. That's wide.
Game
And there's
second
the
set,
break.
Gibson, 6-1.
For Gibson. So he wins set number 2, 6-1, and we are going to a third. Grant Gibson clawing his way back in the second set and leaving Kyle Malone to ask a ton of questions after dominating that opening set so much.
So much has to do with he played so well in that first set, and naturally, you know, we were almost waiting for him to come back down to earth a little bit, and mentally I think he's got to get back to that game before you can expect to see any physical result.
So we're going to a third after Grant Gibson wins the second set 6-1, and the 2018 Phil LeBlanc Memorial Championship is going the distance. We hope that you go the distance with us. There's Kyle Malone looking for better things in the third. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Barrhaven Tennis Club, the site of the 2018 Phil LeBlanc Memorial Tennis Tournament. 6-3 victory by Kyle Malone in the opening set, followed by a 6-1 win by Grant Gibson in the second has necessitated this third.
Love 15.
Gibson thought it was out. The linesman called it in. Peter Heinerman.
I'm going to be really looking here at who's able to maintain their current level, or if someone's going to be able to raise it. I think both guys are implementing their strategies, and I think they're both working. I just think it revolves so much around just the level that these guys are going to play at. Whether Malone can raise his game back up to where it was in the first set, or if it's going to be more of the same from the second.
30-15.
You talked about how difficult it might be for Kyle Malone if Grant Gibson was able to break him in that final game of the second set. He gets to start here in the third, and he's up 30-15.
No, big servers, and I can attest to this, big servers like to serve first. They like to be ahead the whole set.
All.
Watch the swing speed of Malone. That was the biggest difference, I thought. First to second set was he wasn't swinging as hard, therefore he wasn't getting the same pace. He was working the ball around a little bit more.
Nope.
30-40.
And now, another break opportunity here for Kyle Malone.
And a couple of nice returns.
Fault.
Where's that going? Jeez.
Yes.
And Malone misses a huge opportunity.
And we told you if Malone wasn't feeling it, you know, you weren't going to need us to tell you. He'll tell you himself if he's not feeling it. And you heard him up to that point, not happy with himself.
Too much for Gibson.
Advantage Malone.
Nice big swing, big quick, good pace on his racket. He needs to do that this set if he wants to have a shot at this match. You see him stretching his hand again.
Yes.
Back to deuce. Big servers.
And both guys, although good servers, are very underrated returners.
Let's go. One. Out.
A great rally.
Advantage Gibson.
And Gibson's rally and just hitting the ball back and forth, and Malone really having some difficulty with his right hand.
Definitely looks like a cramp to me. He's trying to stretch it out.
Fault.
He's having a hard time just keeping the hand open.
game, Gibson.
And Gibson
First
holds
game, final set.
to win the opener here in the third and final set. So Kyle Malone in some difficulty as he takes a seat in the shade to mark this changeover, trying to stretch out his hand. And he is presented not only when you win this tournament, not only is it a really, really nice thing to be able to put on your resume, but now this year, past champions have been given a commemorative hat that they will be able to wear. And the other night they had a presentation to all past champions and players in this year's tournament. Quite nice, don't you think?
Oh, it is quite nice, and I've played against a lot of these guys, and you couldn't have a better group of people winning these tournaments, and this isn't a small tournament. There's a lot of great players in here, so it is absolutely no small feat to come out with one of those hats.
John Payette was in the middle of that group, wearing his proudly and a beautiful pass as Malone comes out firing here in game 2 of set 3.
I wonder with that ham cramp if he's going to start opening the shoulders and really start going for a lot of pace.
Love.
Gibson wide. 30 love as Malone starts to take his time a little bit more and just pace the remaining energy left in the capsule he's carrying around with him. Gibson just completely handcuffed on that one.
One of the best things with the sport is it doesn't matter how good of a player you are, how much better you are than your opponent. There's just some balls that you got to put your racket down and just applaud the other guy for a great shot. And that was one of those. Just nothing anyone could do about that. Great shot by Malone.
Gibson content to just keep it on the property and wait for Malone to make a mistake, and that's exactly what happened.
That's some unreal defense, and one of the things these guys do that I'll never understand how they do it is slide. There's a couple of awesome slides on Grant, and when you're able to slide like that, it takes us a lot less energy to get back into the middle of the court.
Wow. 40-30.
Malone not happy and continues to try and loosen up that right hand.
No, there's nothing worse than, when you're playing the way you were in that first set and then your hand decides that it's not content. It starts cramping up, and it's one of the most difficult things to try and fight through.
Oh, boy.
Use.
He's fought all the way back in this game, Gibson has, and not really did too much. Just stayed in the points and waited for Malone to make the errors.
Oh, that's so good.
What a great get and a better pass by Malone.
Advantage Malone.
I don't know how Gibson's leg didn't snap in half on that slide. That's unreal. And again, you can see Gibson's energy level hasn't dropped this whole match, and whereas Malone's has been up and down.
Sorry, Grant. Sorry.
What a fantastic drop shot by Gibson.
That was absolutely filthy. And I'm sitting right on the net, and the entire time I couldn't tell if it was going over. That is because as close as a tennis ball can go to the net without touching it. That was unreal. To play a shot like that, he's got to have so much confidence right now. And I don't blame him. He's playing real well.
Baseline umpire
Advantage Gibson.
called it in. Malone contended that you can see the mark on the court that the ball was indeed out.
Deuce.
Back to deuce.
And recently, I believe, maybe a month or so ago, the people here at the Brighton Tennis Club did do a full clean of these courts, covered all the fuzz and all the dirt. So
Advantage Gibson.
there's enough pace or spin on the ball. It does leave a mark. I can see the mark on that last one from here.
And yet another break opportunity for Grant Gibson. Been successful on 4 of 6 opportunities so far in this 2018 final. Make that 5 of 7. And just like the opening set, he's ahead. To love.
I believe even in the second set as well, he got off to a good start. The only difference was he was able to maintain that pressure throughout the whole set, whereas in the first he dropped off quite drastically. But this will be the real test of Clem Malone here. Is he's got to find something, some kind of reserve tank or something.
15 love.
Gibson certainly getting to another gear here.
Oh, he's getting to another gear because he's being allowed to. The pace on Malone's ground strokes has dropped off drastically, and it's allowing Gibson back at a lot of these points.
First serve.
It's letting him sort of run the way he wants to and hit the ball the way he wants to.
Serving with a lot more authority, a lot more confidence, and a lot more velocity.
Absolutely, he's hitting his spots. He's not relying on the second serve as much. He's a lot more confident. Even his misses are minuscule at most.
And double fault. Oh, and a great pass by Kyle Malone to stay alive here in game number 3, and this is a crucial game for Malone.
He doesn't necessarily have to win it, but he's definitely got to have a good showing. A 40-love game here would have been really difficult mentally on Malone.
That gets to deuce.
Yes.
2 strong points in a row. He really brought the miles per hour up on that one. He's got to keep that going.
Malone can't buy one right now.
Now, that was an absolute thumper that hit this square on the tape. I'll tell you what, there's no more frustrating sound in tennis or really in any sport than that.
Gibson hangs on, holds, and
Gibson.
leads 3-love here in the 3rd and final set.
This changeover could be big just mentally for Malone. He's got to find something. I know I've been saying it a bit, but the miles per hour has gone down a fair bit. He's not hitting with the same velocity or nearly as consistently as he was in the first set. He's got to find a little bag of energy somewhere.
He's going to serve now, and it's at this point now, it's vital that he is able to hold serve.
Yeah, when you're down this, remember, he's only down 1 break. So it's not insurmountable, and the first step into breaking your opponent back is to hold your own serve. Doesn't matter if you break the guy 100 times. If you get broken 100 times yourself, then you're going to end up in the same place. So he's got to focus on holding his own serve first, and then kind of focus on, then he can, focus on getting the break back. But you can't think too far ahead. You got to think point by point by point.
Almost now, every hit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Gibson's long.
15-love.
I think the longer the rallies we have, the better it's going to favor Grant Gibson. As in his energy level and his body language hasn't changed one bit since the start of this match. If you just watched him, you couldn't tell whether he was winning or if he was losing.
Just wide.
They tried to play more of a drop volley there, and the ball came in with a lot more pace than he was anticipating, and the ball sailed on him a bit. And like the idea, come into the net. Thought I'd be seeing a little more of that.
$30-15.
You look at Kyle's serve, and it's not the most natural motion in the world. The ball's tossed a bit behind him. His impact point's a bit behind his head, and so if the toss is off a little bit, it messes with him.
30 all.
Malone, one unforced error away from 40.
That impact point was maybe a few inches above his head, way too low.
There it is, and Gibson with another opportunity to break.
Both of those serves, that second serve barely made it over, and he's not getting the racket up to that toss quick enough.
Yeah, let's go.
Grant Gibson starting to smell the blood in the water.
That's a beautiful, beautiful backhand.
Leads 4-love. Final set.
Like you said, step one is you got to hold serve, and now the task has doubled or even tripled in terms of the difficulty. And something's got to change. I don't know what that thing is though. He's got to find some kind of energy or some mental edge here, or else this could be over quickly.
And a great pass to catch Gibson flat-footed by Kyle Malone.
Love 15.
And I'm a big fan of when a guy's down the way Malone is to try and relax as much as you can and just open up your shoulders. Go for a little bit more, try to shorten the points out.
Stop! Easy shots, come on.
15 all.
Kyle Malone showing a little frustration at this point.
And I think a little is a bit of an understatement.
Backhand top spin winner to get it past Grant
15,
Gibson.
30.
So poor decision on Grant's part there. He didn't. Not only was a bad choice, but the execution was way off as well.
Gibson has done a tremendous job playing defense. Just 5 winners to Malone's 21.
This is impressive. I've seen a lot of Gibson play, and I haven't seen him play defense quite this well before.
Nope.
15-40.
Gibson's got to be careful here. If he gives this game back, that could be just the momentum swing Malone needs to get back in it.
Game, Malone.
So Malone with the pass gets the break.
Gibson leads 4-1. Final set.
Played that game really nicely. Had a couple nice winners. Didn't try to overplay anything. Waited for his opportunity. Grant gave him a couple opportunities, and then he made him pay.
So at what point, Grant Gibson leading 4-0 in the third and final set, at what point does he begin to press to try and close this out, and how does that sort of play psychologically on your mind when Malone comes back like he did in that 5th game, and am I going to be able to do this?
Well, that's the hardest thing in tennis to do is win that last game, right? Because generally speaking, your opponent will be in a situation where he's got nothing left to lose, right? He's going to go for more shots. He's going to go for more pace. He's going to play a little bit freer, whereas when you've got something to lose, when you're ahead, that becomes really tricky. So Grant's been in this position a couple of times. He knows how to close it out. We saw him 2 years ago against Joe close it out pretty convincingly.
And Malone's frustrations continue.
But the key to that is do what got you to this position. Keep doing what you're doing and wait for your opponent to make the adjustment.
Love 30. $15.30.
Just a little wide by Gibson.
Ball wide.
15.40.
This could be a virtual match point here.
Let's go.
And Gibson
Gibson.
is going to try and serve it out for the title. Leading 5-1 in the
leads
third.
5-1 final set.
That is demoralizing if you're Malone. You just played a great game to get one of the two breaks back, and then you give one back. That was really tough to watch if you're a Malone fan.
Oh.
Grant Gibson really has the juice going now.
He looks like he could play another 3 or 4 sets if he wanted to.
Yeah, whereas in the latter part of that opening set, he looked like he was tired.
Oh.
He looked like he could have been tired, right? But sometimes all you need is to sit down, get a banana in here or something, and
Oh, Malone is not going away easily.
well, these last 3 points for Gibson could be the most difficult ones to get in the whole match.
Playing that
30-15.
defensive lob game perfectly, just hitting the baseline 3 consecutive times.
I'll give Malone a lot of credit there. A lot of guys would back up and maybe take it a little higher, but Malone not one to give up any ground. Stayed on the baseline and took that on the short hop.
And Malone, despite the fact that he's only won 1 game here in the second set, has hit 8 winners. Third set, excuse me.
He hasn't played badly at all. He's just Gibson's played better later in the games. Right when it got to the game points or the break points or the deuces, Gibson has played better in this third set. And he'll need to continue that as it's 30-all right now.
And we got a championship point for Grant Gibson.
40-30.
Gibson attempting to win his second Phil LeBlanc Memorial Tennis Tournament.
Let's go.
It's over. For the second time, Grant Gibson is the Phil LeBlanc Memorial Tennis Tournament champion. He did it in 2016 with a win against Joe Williamson. He did it in 2018 with a victory over Kyle Malone, and he's the only champion to not only do it once, but do it twice after losing the opening set.
Says a lot about the kind of character he is and how much work he puts into his game. And congrats to Grant on what was a great match, really entertaining to watch, and happy for him.
A 3-6, 6-1, 6-1 tournament victory for Grant Gibson. We'll talk to our champion after the break. You're watching the 2018 Phil LeBlanc Memorial Tennis Tournament on RogersTV. There is the trophy for the 2018 Phil LeBlanc Memorial Tennis Tournament champion. His name is Grant Gibson by virtue of his 3-6, 6-1, 6-1 victory over Kyle Malone. And we have the champion with us now. Grant, congratulations on not only the first time you've done it, but you're the only champion to do it once, not once, but twice, win this tournament after dropping the opening set.
Well, I didn't know that until today, so I don't know. I never give up, I guess, like just keep fighting, change it up, find a way.
Kyle was broke you a couple of times in that opening set to win an almost leisurely 6-3 first set. What was the turning point for you? What was the thing that brought you back to get you back into this match?
Well, the first set, I tried to keep with him and with the pace, and he just kept blasting forehand winners by me. So after the first set, when he kind of just blew me off the court, I just changed up my strategy. I started hitting higher spin shots, mixing it up, playing defense, and he started misfiring. And then I think later on he got in his head, and I just kept playing that strategy until it didn't work, and it continued to work. Not very often you see a champion winning a match against an opponent who hits the ball as hard as Kyle Malone does. He hit 22 winners. You hit 5. Yeah. Impeccable defense. Yeah. Well, I don't know what to say about that. Like, it's hard to continually hit winners, by people like that. So. I don't know, just keep making him hit him and hope for the best. Like, you think like he can't keep doing that for the entire match, so you got to just change it up and hope you can do something that'll throw off his rhythm or make him start missing, because there's no way he can just continue to do that. That's so hard to do. So I made him work for it. Coming into this final match, you had your semifinal match this morning. 2 years ago, you had a marathon semifinal match, and you still went on to beat Joe Williamson. Today, it was a little easier. Did you think that because of the temperatures and the heat that you might have run out of gas? Well, it was in the morning. It was at 9 o'clock this morning, and it was pretty quick. He wasn't playing his best, so it only lasted a short time. So I felt pretty fresh for this, and that wasn't a factor again. It was just, that wasn't a factor for me again. What's the future hold for you now? You're a champion here 2 out of the last 3 years. Win it again next year? Yeah, try that. Yeah, be the first time to. I think nobody's won it 3 times. Won it 3. So Kyle had an opportunity today. He did. I shut him down, so I got to try to do it next year. Congratulations, Grant, on a great win. Thanks. Grant Gibson, the 2018 Phil LeBlanc Memorial Tennis Tournament champion by virtue of his 3-6, 6-1, 6-1 victory over Kyle Malone here at the Barhaven Tennis Club. For Matt
Levrison and our entire Rogers TV crew. I'm Dan Mooney. Thanks so much for the company. So long from the Barhaven Tennis Club.